Hi everybody, this is Shalet. I was really glad to hear about this month's topic, which is type 1 and mental health. I think it's really important that we talk about it. I studied psychology in India for 7 years. I was practicing as a counselor for 2 years before I came to Canada to do a research based master's in the same field. So, currently, my research is also entirely focused on type 1 and caregiving. So, I thought I would share something that I think is important, and I learned as a type 1 and as a mental health professional about chronic illness like type 1. So, yeah, I want to talk about grief. Now, you might wonder why grief? Isn't that something that happens when your loved one dies or somebody, your friend or family member dies? What is the connection with diabetes? You're right, grief is about loss. And with type 1, we lose something very, very important, and that is a normal body. Parents lose normal children, and therefore we go through a different kind of grief that is associated with loss. Now, often we are told to accept the diagnosis, accept the disease by our loved ones, by doctors, and it is hard to do, right? It doesn't come naturally. Sometimes we feel like we've accepted, but it doesn't seem like we have, right? And why is that? That's because we have not acknowledged grief a lot of the times. Therefore, acknowledging that we have lost our normal bodies and therefore grief is a normal process to follow is important for our mental well being. Now, when you lose something, lose a loved one, you go through a grief in several stages. Okay? The problem is the stages are normal, but when you get stuck at one of the stages and you cannot move or you take longer than usual, that is when the problem begins. So, what are these stages? So, you will go through first shock, anger, denial. And classic example of denial is you going for second opinion, taking your child to multiple practitioners to confirm diagnosis when it's clear that the sugar levels of your child are high, right? Or after that, what follows is depression. You feel depressed, almost helpless. And then suddenly we get obsessed. I remember myself being super obsessed with keeping my sugars in range, and Dr. Joke telling me at times that it's just a number. But I was like, no, I am going to get it all in range. I'm going to get all fixed. I am going to learn carbohydrate counting, and I'm going to, think like my pancreas, and I'm going to get it all in control. So I was starting to control diabetes, and I was soon burning out. So we know that being at that stage can also be pretty harmful, right? And then finally comes the stage of bargaining with your God. Like you will pray to your God, being like, give me something else. Why me? And, or if you're a parent, you would bargain with your God saying that, why did it happen to my child? Let it happen to me, not my child. And finally, it's acceptance. Now, I particularly don't like the word acceptance because it then makes it seem like either you accept or you don't accept. There is nothing in between, or there is no going back and forth. It just like ultimately you accept, and then the definition of acceptance can be very rigid. If you have accepted, then you don't get angry. If you have accepted, then you make peace with whatever has happened, and you have no complaints left in life. Well, here I like the second model of understanding grief, which talks about dual processing. So, what it says is there is a normal functioning that you take part in, like everyday life functioning, and there is grief that you take part in. Okay, you keep going back and forth between functioning normally and then grieving. Okay, so I feel more than accepting, ultimately what we do is we adapt to diabetes, or adapt our lifestyle to fit diabetes. Now adapting makes it more acceptable for us to sometimes be angry and upset, and sometimes be okay with having diabetes. It makes it more normal for us to go back and forth. I think complete acceptance is almost impossible. I think we will go back and forth. We will at times be sad and grieve. I remember there are days when I wake up and my blood sugars are high. I'm super upset and I get angry. And beneath my anger lies my sadness, my feeling of grief that while I don't live in a normal body, I live in a body that is deficient, and I'm making up for it And so it's been 13 years that I've been living with it, but that keeps happening. So I think it's absolutely okay for us to say that, okay, I have accepted the diagnosis, but I will still grieve. It's okay for you to grieve. You're adapting, you're changing. So I think for our mental health, acknowledging grief, acknowledging that we have lost something very important, is very, very important. When you feel like the grief is too much to handle, talk to somebody, talk to a loved one. If you're a caregiver, if you're a parent, and you see your teenager or your child is getting really angry, upset, know that underneath they're going through a lot of pain, and allow that space for yourself as well as the child to grieve it, to go back and forth between these stages, to go between feeling absolutely okay with diabetes to be angry and upset with world and with themselves and whatnot. Yeah, I hope this was helpful for all of you. If you have any questions or anything, any comments, I would like to hear from you. Bye bye.